What's the worst story you've seen?
On the street, I met a guy who, at Disney, they were 180 grand in debt, in consumer debts, and they were at Disney, and they told me they were dropping $1,000 a day to be there for a week. And that's the clip that went viral on Instagram. That was the picture of what you expect at Disney, right? This person who's in crippling debt going, I just want to go on a trip. I need a vacation from the reality of my life, which is crippling debt. So that one stuck with me because I felt for them. And I talked to them afterwards, and I gave them the Every Dollar Budgeting app and kind of coached them a little bit, gave them some next steps. Because I hate to – the point of those man on the street videos is not to make someone feel bad about their vacation. The point is to create a little bit of conviction that I can do better and I know how to do better now. And therefore, you kind of – our ignorance was bliss until now. I kind of pointed it out.
Have you kept in touch with them?
I haven't, but I think he's messaged me once before. So I'm going to try to get back in touch to see where are they now and try to see if I can get them out of this thing.
It's interesting because that actually sounds exactly like someone who's addicted to drugs because their life is falling apart and it's because of the drugs that they take, but then they take the drugs to escape that life. The same thing goes for this person in $180,000 of consumer debt or other people, maybe not this person exactly, but like generally speaking, like you're going on this trip to Disneyland, you're taking on more consumer debt in order to escape the stress of being in consumer debt. So it's just a vicious cycle that feeds itself.
Yeah, Dr. Arthur Brooks calls that the doom loop, and it happens with all kinds of addiction. And when you translate it to money, it's the retail therapy. I buy a thing, it wasn't enough, the dopamine wore off, so I need to go kind of do more of it, go bigger. And with debt, you see this kind of add it to my tab mentality of, well, I'm 180 grand in debt, what's another 10 grand onto the pile? And even I have family members who do this. You know, they go to med school and they're 350 grand in debt. So adding a car payment to that is like a drop in the bucket to them. And that's the scary part is this is like monopoly money to us, and we don't realize the ramifications. And that's the side we get on the Ramsey show. When life didn't work out perfectly, when they were laid off, they were fired, a spouse wants to stay home because they had a kid, and all of a sudden we have to tell them, hey, you got to sell the house, or hey, that car is about to get repoed. You're about to get foreclosed on. So those are the heartbreaking calls. Everyone takes on payments when they're doing okay in life and they can afford the payment, quote unquote. And eventually they have a misstep. Life happens. They have an emergency that they weren't prepared for, and then the whole house of cards crumbles.
So what's the worst thing you've seen on a call?
Oh my gosh. The worst thing I've seen on a call, the one that is burned into my memory, is, I don't know if you've heard of the sovereignty movement.
There's a sovereign citizen thing?
Sovereign citizen.
What is that?
They believe that the government is basically operating under false pretenses, that taxes are illegal, and therefore I'm not going to pay taxes, I'm not going to pay back my debts, and because I think it's unlawful. And a woman called in and said, my husband is a part of this movement. He's sort of fallen into this cult-like mentality, and the car is about to be repoed. Their house is about to be foreclosed on because he's not making mortgage payments, and he owes the IRS $300,000. And I told her, I was like, hey, you might go to jail too. Like, you might be able to claim innocent spouse if you're lucky, if you get a good attorney and get out of this, but this guy is going to drag you into prison with him if you're not careful. So those are the scariest ones where someone is, I mean, I think it's a mental illness at that point, of that level of sort of paranoia and, you know, deranged behavior.
What was her response?
I think she was a little bit of, you know, just shock mode of she didn't really know what to do, and there was a lot of next steps to handle all of it. And I didn't think the marriage was going to survive in all of this. It's hard to, you're so far removed of like, that's not the person I married, And so that was a really difficult call to take. That's hard to nail down in 7 minutes on a radio call to help her. And so that's the hard part, is you always think about them later on, and you kind of have to, like a surgeon or a doctor, go like, all right, next caller. You have to kind of compartmentalize it and not let it stick with you too much.
This seems to be more of like a psychological question, but that also seems to be the same thing that leads people to believe that it's a good idea to take on debt in order to get a Coachella ticket. It's like all just like being disillusioned, basically, like being deluded, seeing reality for something that it isn't. What do you think? Is this all?
We don't see money anymore. When is the last time you guys saw $10,000 in cash? Now, Graham probably has because it's sitting in his safe at home. But
Every
most
night.
people,
Yeah.
money is just like this digital thing. It's just a number in a bank account. And therefore, when we take on debt, like a car payment, it's $50,000 for that new car. You didn't have to actually exchange anything for that. All you had to do was promise to make a $750 payment next month and the month after that. But that balance sitting with that car lender of $50,000 isn't really real to you, similar to a mortgage. And that's what I think we need, is to bring friction back, bring the reality back that even if you have $20,000 in savings and you have $50,000 in debt, you are not okay. You are not safe. There's a real deficit there, and you are in the red.
You think it has to do with delayed consequence? Because back in the day, let's say if you didn't pay the IRS, or if you wanted to take on debt, like I feel like the consequence of doing that could not be stretched so far.
Oh yeah, you'd be borrowing money from like the mob or like
Yeah.
from dude, and then
And
your
then
legs
you'd
get
be-
broken
yeah.
when you're like a day late.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. Now what you do is you file bankruptcy. You pay a couple grand, get on a payment plan, or they, repo the assets or foreclose the home, and then you got a get out of jail free card. Now your credit's shot, your financial world is ruined for, about a decade, but people just go, I'll file bankruptcy again. That's sort of the mentality now, and people see bankrupt. I mean, we get so many calls where people say, should I file bankruptcy? And they are $12,000 in debt. But they just somewhere learned along the way that there was a shortcut out of this thing that did not involve them.
Now, I'm sure I don't need to say this, but buying a home is usually one of the largest and most important financial decisions you'll ever make. And with rates moving around, it's easy to feel the pressure to act fast. But the truth is, the right time to buy or refinance is when you're financially ready.
That's why today's sponsor, Churchill Mortgage, stands out. They're not a transactional lender. They're a trusted guide focused on helping you build a smart, long-term plan for homeownership.
And what really makes Churchill different is their focus on readiness. They walk you through your entire financial picture and help you understand what you could truly afford, not just what you could qualify for. It's way more than just a mortgage. It's a strategy.
And we've actually had Dave Ramsey on the podcast before, so we've talked firsthand about his philosophy around debt-free living and financial peace. Churchill has been his trusted mortgage company for over 30 years, which says a lot about how aligned they are with that long-term planning.
They also have a 4.9 rating on Google and were named the Newsweek top nationwide mid-size lender based on client ratings. That kind of trust doesn't happen by accident. So if you're thinking about buying a home or refinancing, get a customized plan built around your goals at churchillmortgage.com/coffee.
Again, that is churchillmortgage.com/coffee to learn more and to see what the smarter mortgage looks like for you. This is a paid advertisement, NMLS ID 1591, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, Equal Housing Lender.